I come from a family of witches, or so I have been told. If I am honest, I'm not sure I believe it. But then, there have been too many coincidences in life to believe otherwise. I got to meet my great-grandma, a woman who wasn't scared to defend her grandchildren if anyone attempted to bully them. The same went with her great-grandkids, whom she would say annoyed the heck out of her, but would play tag with them until she turned 98. That year, she pointed at herself, and we all knew what was going to happen next. In less than a year she was dead. We all knew that when my grandma pointed at someone, they would be dead within a year. She was never wrong, or at least not that we could tell. Then there was my grandma, the sweetest person to live. She always made sure to help everyone and made people feel loved. Her health was amazing, but we knew someone would die when she happened to get a cold. When her own child was the one to die as she wiped the last of the cold away, her heart broke. It wasn't strange to anyone when my mother could tell when someone would die. A day before the death of someone, her chest would start to hurt. My mother has never been one to easily cry, but the tears would give away on those days in which death told her of his coming. This gift or curse, or whatever it may be called, didn't skip me as much as I wish it did. I've always had vivid dreams, mostly nightmares filled with monsters, but in the end, just dreams. It wasn't until I turned 12 that I started to dream about death, and those dreams started to bleed into reality. I dreamt that my best friend had died in a car accident. I woke up crying but wiped my tears away and decided to forget about it. I went to school and hung out with her as usual. I had thought of telling her my dream, but we had better things to talk about. In the end, I forgot. Later that day, she died in a car accident. We were informed about her death by our homeroom teacher. I yelled that this had all been my fault. The teacher tried to help me, but there was no calming me down and I was sent home. I explained to my mother what had happened. She looked at me with an understanding that couldn't be shared with anyone else in the world besides those who had served as messengers for death. I can't promise anything, but you should tell people when you have those dreams. I have heard that when you say them out loud, they won't come true. My mother tried to help. I thought those were for wishes, I sobbed. Well, dreams are another form of wishes, my mother explained. From then on, I tried to tell people about my dreams. My family didn't even flinch, they already had experience with the business. When I tried telling friends, classmates, and even strangers, they looked at me like I was insane. Some would even get aggressive. At some point, I lost all my friends and I made no effort to make new ones. I stopped telling people about my dreams. I will say that my mother's advice worked most of the time when people listened, but it became obvious that people didn't want to know and much less believed. I can't blame them, it all just sounds insane. I still felt guilty when I couldn't save them. My uncle's death was one that I was unable to prevent even when he heard my dream about him. He laughed and hugged me, reassuring me that it would be all right. But as my grandma's cold was at the end of its run and my mother's chest hurt, he died. His grandson put a small candy into his mouth, and before he could react, the candy got stuck on his throat. He tried to spit it out, get some air into his lungs. People could only watch as his grip on life slowly slipped away. Just like in my dream. Like I said, my grandma's heart broke. From that day her health started to deteriorate. In less than 2 months, her heart started to give out. Doctors gave her a good prognosis with surgery. The night before the surgery, I dreamt that she wouldn't make it. I begged my parents to take me to the hospital before my grandma underwent surgery. She never said it out loud, but I think my mother knew what was coming. I rushed to her side. My body shook so violently that my words wouldn't come out. My vision blurred from the tears, and before I could control myself, she hugged me. "Please don't say it, I already know," my grandma whispered into my ear. "I love you and please don't feel bad about it. I want this." I stayed with her until she was taken into the operation room. I tried to be brave for her, but truly she was the one to take care of me in those last moments. And like my dream had predicted, she didn't make it. At the funeral, I was inconsolable. I couldn't approach her body because I felt like I had failed her. I didn't deserve that final goodbye. My little sister approached me, a smile on her face. I thought maybe she didn't understand the situation. After all, she was still so young. She extended her hand to me, waiting for me to hold her. I gave her my hand and she did something unexpected. She drew a little heart at the palm of my hand. "Grandma told me you needed it," she smiled, proud of her work. "When did she teach you this?" I asked, confused, because no one else would have known about the heart. "She told me right now," she answered as she walked away. The dreams never left me, but I never told anyone about them until I met my now husband. Unlike most people who avoided me, he made an effort to approach me. He was kind and understanding. I treasured our friendship above it all, and when he asked me on a date, I confessed my secret. I thought he would walk away from me. I wasn't ready for it, but I had accepted it. Instead, he held me in his arms and said he would always be there for me. A few years later, he proposed and I said yes. Like any other relationship, there were good and bad moments. But no matter what, we knew we had each other. There were days in which I would wake up crying, knowing that a loved one was probably going to die. He would stay up with me and listen to my dreams before helping me go back to sleep. Then something wonderful happened. I was pregnant. Our dream of becoming parents was finally coming true. Those first few months of the pregnancy, I had no dreams of death. This little miracle of ours had changed our lives. A week before I was due, it all crumbled down. I dreamt our child would be born stillborn. I told my husband of my dream and said the dream out loud in hope our baby girl would hear the dream from the womb. I told her of all the things we would do once she was in our arms. I denied the dream and kept telling her, and mostly myself, that it wouldn't come to happen. She never took a breath. There was no explanation as to what had caused her to be a stillborn. It just was. For the first time, my husband withdrew himself from me. Not because he hated me, but because he had to deal with his pain too. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but we both realized that isolation wasn't going to help either of us. While our hearts remained broken from our loss, we at least had each other. We never tried for another child. Instead, we started to travel and buy ourselves expensive things we had denied ourselves in hope to spend that money on our children. We spoiled our nieces and nephews, to the point our siblings would roll their eyes at us, saying we gave too much. When things finally seemed to have settled down, and my body got used to the constant dreams of death once more, I had a dream I hoped to never have until both of us were old and senile. Unlike my other dreams, I couldn't tell the exact cause of death. I was in said dream too, bleeding, but again unsure of why. Was my injury the reason I couldn't see properly? Was I going to die too? That thought was somewhat comforting. I would do everything in my power to stop his death, but if it wasn't possible, at least we would be together until the end. I told him about the dream that same morning. At first, he looked concerned but slowly came to accept it. "My love, we can't live our lives in fear of death. If I'm going to die, I would prefer to spend my last moments happily with you," he told me as he hugged me. "I don't want to lose you," I sobbed. "I know, and I will do my best to stay." His words were cut off when he attempted to turn on the gas stove and it exploded. I became disoriented by the blast and could feel blood pouring from my ears. I fell as I made my way towards him, silently begging that he was still alive and that I could somehow drag him out of the now burning kitchen. I grabbed his arm, already half melted by the flames, but if my brain was not playing a cruel joke on me, there was still a pulse. My back burned and my hair sizzled, giving a horrible stench. Everything in me begged to give up, to lay down next to him and fall asleep. Maybe once we woke up, the nightmare would be over. I ignored my thoughts and instead fought my own body to stand up. I grabbed both of his arms and started to pull him towards the living room and into the exit. His eyes started to open and I couldn't help but smile. Then I made the mistake of looking up. I recognized this scene from my dream, and a second explosion made me black out. A few days later, I woke up in the hospital. My husband had gotten up after the second explosion and, unable to drag me out, he placed himself on top of me, protecting me from the flames as much as he could. By the time the firefighters arrived, he was gone. I have never told anyone else about my dreams until now. I have kept the pain of knowing when death would come all to myself. I do wonder sometimes if I'm doing the right thing, or if I should try to warn people once more. After all, death came last night and told me of the next to die.